What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Beanball Podcast. This is episode 2. This week we'll talk about minor league baseball, what changes we can see and what we can see in the future. Let's get this started. So what's going on, everyone? Alan,
Hey.
What's up, man?
Not much, man. Just trying to get this bathroom remodeled. You know, that's taking up some time.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we were trying to get a podcast out last week, but, you know, this remodel is just kicking my butt.
Yeah. But at least, you know, most people got some good news. We got Uncle Joe's going to send us some money today.
Hey, that's right. We heard the stimulus check is going to go through, so
a lot of help. And
as long as you make under 150,000 or something.
yeah, something like that.
I know they did something.
If you had children, you get more money.
Yep.
But, you know, come official probably Friday they're saying to sign. But, you know, baseball, we're about 3 weeks away from opening day.
That's right. So yeah, let's get into it.
So, you know, new minor league baseball, it's changing, and unfortunately, you know, it feels like it keeps changing every week. I feel like first, you know, beginning of the season, we heard AA and single A getting delayed, which made sense. They wanted everyone at camp, you know, all those players. It made sense. But, you know, now with the risk and stuff, but, you know, we got finally some signings.
Yeah.
Two guys we thought were going to sign pretty quickly, you know, or decently. We thought maybe one like Trevor signed, one was signed, then one Springer signed.
Yep.
We thought Bradley was going to sign, and it went into spring training.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got two late spring signings. Jake Odorizzi signed a 2-year deal with the Astros. I think that was $20.25 million.
Something like that, yeah.
And then, like you said, Jackie Bradley Jr. signed a 2-year deal with the Brew Crew.
Which is kind of surprising, but I guess Alonzo Cain's going to be shifted because I guess Ryan Braun, even though he hasn't officially retired, but I don't think he's under contract. So
Yeah.
Alonzo Cain is aging, so an easy transition to left field, I'm assuming.
It's not a bad deal either for either side. I mean, $25 million for 2 years, that's pretty solid.
And then it shocks me because, you know, Mets were interested in Bradley, especially if their DH was going to come up.
Yep.
The biggest thing was they were hearing he wanted 4 years.
Yeah.
So I guess when no one was barking at that 4 years, his asking price came down, or it's kind of like, I think he does have an opt-out after the first year, so he can try to hopefully have a great season, prove himself, and then try to get that multi-year deal, which we've seen Ozuna has done in the past.
Yeah.
And also, like Lana, who's the other guy that Lana did 2 years ago? I'm trying to think. Third baseman, Josh Donaldson. Donaldson, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean,
He had his 1 year deal with Braves, worked out well, and he got multi-year to the Twins. So we'll see if Bradley can do it.
I mean, I understand betting on yourself, but, you know, at the same time, we'll see. I mean, he could be good. But he should have taken that deal with the Mets because he could have been out there today celebrating their World Series win for the future.
But, you know, like Luis Ross and the Mets said, like they're kind of dragging their feet MLB with this DH because if they want to keep people in the bubble, keep people healthy, DH is a big option. Like Noah, you know, likes to hit, but he's like, why don't people want to get with the 21st century? It's coming next year with the CBA, which we're going to talk about today. But it's like, why not just go and do this year? I know the players wanted the DH, but to get the DH, you had to explain the playoffs this year, which the players did not want to do this year.
Right.
So,
I mean, I know there's a lot of people who don't like the DH and a lot of people who do, but, you know, at this point, like you said, get with the 21st century. Pitchers specialize in pitching.
Yeah.
They can't hit. Rarely they hit, and we get excited when they do, but it's few and far in between. We need to get somebody out there who can be a daily player. Let the pitchers focus on their craft.
Yeah. So we'll keep those eyes. You know, with the Astros, they probably lost one of their top prospects, which finally is going to get a shot this year.
Yeah.
Looks like Tommy John. Unfortunate for him. So this is after they signed Ozorini, so it's like, ooh, like you already kind of got him because I forgot someone else got hurt for them. Of course, Verlander's still out this year, but I think one of the young guys is probably gonna miss some time. Now they got the other young guy. It's like, oh, it's already starting to not good for them. So it's gonna open up that division possibly. We'll have to keep an eye on it and see how fast Ozorini can get up to speed.
And then see what other injuries we have in the future, too.
Yeah, and then, of course, with the Brew Crew, that division's wide open since Cubs sold everyone this year. So that division is going to be wide open this year.
And Milwaukee could do it.
Milwaukee could. You know, they're only a year away from, you know, almost making it to the World Series 2 years ago.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. So, but MLB decided to add another holiday to the schedule.
All right, what is it?
So Lou Gehrig Day is now going to be on June 2nd.
Okay.
ALS, the big speech. Everyone loves the speech. And, ALS, Lou Gehrig disease, because he's the first big one to have that. And I think it's a long time coming. It's good for MLB to finally decide to do this, to bring more awareness, but have to celebrate.
Are they going to do like a bucket challenge or something?
I don't know. They said they're going to celebrate. I haven't got the full details, but,
Yeah, from what I understand, they're going to at least put a 4-inch patch with the ALS logo on one side and then I think a number 4 as well.
Yeah, so it's something, at least it's something, we have Jackie Robinson Day, stuff like that, but, at least, this is something that took one of the greatest players away from the game real too early. And that speech, even if you're not a Yankees fan, that's just a great speech. I think in speech class, I remember them playing it in college, because how great that speech was. So it's gonna be interesting. We'll see exactly how they take that and do it this year.
Yeah, I think Major League had a statement that said Major League Baseball is thrilled to celebrate the legacy of Lou Gehrig, whose humility and courage continue to inspire our society. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said in a prepared statement, while ALS has been closely identified with our game since Lou's legendary career, the pressing need to find cures remains.
Yeah.
We need to look forward to honoring all the individuals and families in baseball and beyond who have been affected by ALS and hope Lou Gehrig Day advances efforts to end this disease.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's unfortunate. It's kind of like, I don't know, when my grandma had, what is it? Alzheimer's. You slowly see them slip away. ALS is faster and you can't move, then you start forgetting and you can't talk. It's just, I think it's even worse than Alzheimer's, slowly seeing your loved ones. And it's anything that can help, hopefully raise money and brings more awareness. But most people in baseball, between the bucket challenge a couple years ago.
Yeah, it was really popular.
Yeah, it came real quick and a lot of spread. So hopefully it can do well.
All right. Well, the next thing we want to talk about is Aaron Boone,
his health scare.
Skipper for the Yankees.
Well, I guess a little health scare,
Well, he had to get a pacemaker.
Yeah, so he had heart surgery a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And been feeling, winded, lightheaded, and mostly this was be on the safe side. So he did miss a couple days of training camp back, and he said he's feeling great.
That's what I'm saying. The crazy thing, he went right back basically.
Yeah, the next day.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm like, wow, I thought you were taking a week off.
Yeah, relax.
I understand. It's just managing. He's just sitting there chilling, probably, but yeah, I'm glad that everything's okay.
You're probably right. It's easy going. We're spring training, but at the same time, you still got this big decisions to make. I would have taken it a little easier, I think.
Yeah.
But hey, more to him.
Yeah, at least
Aaron Boone's tough
yeah.
guy.
If in the middle of the season, that'd been a different story. The stress of the season. Now it's just trying to get games right. And not like they have a big prospects that they're trying to make sure, see if he's going to make the team or not. Of course, they have a couple pitchers they're looking at, but he can just sit there and watch.
Yeah, they pretty much know their squad going in this year. They're trying to compete for the World Series. They know who's going to be where.
Yeah, so. But now let's get into that minor league deep dive. But, unfortunately, last week, AAA baseball has been delayed as well to go with the AA and single A, a month delay. Pretty much this was because they want to get all the players vaccinated because not like Major League Baseball, minor league, the AAA, they said they use, public transportation airplanes.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, most of the time they travel by bus, but I forgot with the changes that we're going to talk about, there's a few teams that you're going to have to fly now. I'm like, oh, that makes sense now.
All right. Well,
so they're going to go to a bubble.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, to start the season.
It's got to happen.
Yeah. So everyone's hearing is May 4th now is going to be opening day for AAA.
Okay.
Kind of so. And the only unfortunate thing I did not agree with is they're not going to make up the games. Come on. So AAA baseball can do double headers all the time.
You're telling me they already have the schedule out, but now they're pushing it, and we're not making up any of those days? That's nuts.
They're going to keep it as like this is going to be the day this starts, and this is who teams you're going to play.
Bro, that's crazy.
I'm like, dude, if you could fit these kids, you can double header some of these games.
Right.
When you have rain delay, you do a 7-inning double header for AAA anyways, so why not add it this time?
This is laziness.
I think
that's unfortunate.
We'll see. They might decide it, but they have a month before they finally decide.
I don't think so. All right. Well, speaking of minor league baseball, let's take a look into the changes.
Yeah. So we all saw this coming. We talked about last year with MLB pretty much forcing their hands.
Yeah. Buying out the.
They didn't buy it. The contract was over. They didn't renew it.
Okay. Well,
they just took it over. So. And we heard, they only want 4 teams per team, so it's 120 teams. we're talking about a bunch of teams losing.
Yep.
But the thing is, compared to previous contracts with minor league baseball, the average deal was only 2 to 3 years you sign per year for the major league team. This is a 10-year binding agreement with these teams.
Okay.
So you're talking about more money per team. They're going to invest in their players, wholly invest in facilities. You're talking 10-year deals. And a lot of teams are teams who they already purchase or own, like the Mets. I think 3 out of the 4 teams they own.
Okay.
More teams are starting to do that now. So we can see a future where, like, this is our team, we're a buy. There's not to be no shifting every couple of years like we've been certain. But so, low A, the minor league baseball, you got low A West, low A East, and low A Southeast. So a couple different, and it's weird when we start talking about this. Like, for example, low West only has 8 teams in a division.
North and South division, right?
The low A West, and then
Right.
low A East has
3.
was at 12.
Well, yeah, in three divisions. So
Yeah.
they got a Central, North,
Yeah.
and South.
And then low A East, they got 2 division, 4, and then
East and West. Yeah.
and then 6. It's like, God. So, it's interesting. No big changes. Pretty much everyone who was some form of A is there. And then high A. So you got high A West, which is only 6 teams. High A Central has a East and West division, each getting 6. And then high A East has 5 teams in the North. And then they got, 7 teams in the East.
Yeah, what's crazy is the High A West, they don't have a division at all. It's just, like you said, it's,
Yeah.
what is that, 1, 2,
6.
3, 6 teams.
Yeah, 6 teams.
Just play it out. You
There
are
you go.
you are the West.
And what it is, they are only playing their divisions this year
Okay.
for minor league baseball. I know for AAA, I think that's what it is throughout the whole thing to kind of, so they don't have to travel as much, kind of what we did with MLB last year.
Okay. And then, like you said, Double A has got, 10 teams in the Central, 12 in the Northeast, and then 8 in the South.
Yep. And kind of split up with 2 different divisions in each one.
But then you got Triple A.
So this was the big changes.
Yeah,
And of course, up here in Norfolk, it's always been the International League and the Pacific League.
Yep.
Well, there's just AAA East and AAA West.
Right. And Triple A East has 20 teams in it.
And then West now only has 10.
Crazy.
So this is where the more changes about the flying and stuff, because, for example, previously for our division here in the Norfolk Tides, you had the Charlotte Knights, Durham Bulls, the Gwinnett Scalpers, and that was it for this division.
Mm-hmm.
They have added the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, the Memphis Redbirds, and then the Nashville, what was it, the last one? Oh, Sounds.
Nashville Sounds, yeah.
Yeah. So, you're thinking they got to travel some with these.
So are they only playing teams in the Southeast division?
Yes, this year.
So not in the East, just the Southeast.
No, Southeast. So each division, they're only playing those teams.
So does that mean that we're not going to see Buffalo?
No.
Man.
We're not going to see Buffalo. We're not going to see Syracuse, unfortunately, this year.
Okay. Lehigh. We're not going to see Lehigh.
Yeah. So, but then also they added, for, the East, for example, they added the Saints. The Cubs are now back in the international or the East because they used to be in the International League. Then they went back to Pacific. So they added a few teams.
Okay.
So next season should be interesting when they make the schedule if there's no restrictions. But yeah, I'm sorry, West, you have 10 teams. There's no word if there's going to be, AAA World Series, winner from the West, winner from the East. But
that would be nice.
We'll see. There's no really definition of, I guess, playoffs yet. I guess they'll get more details. They'll just roll with it.
Yeah, what's cool about the minor leagues is that the team names, man. Some of these team names are funny.
Yeah, well, the biggest changes,
Rancho Cucamonga Quakes.
Yeah. So the Red Sox's team changed their name.
Okay.
They were the of course Pawtucket Red Sox. Now they're the Worcester Red Sox.
Rochester. Oh, the Red Wings.
Yeah. So this is the biggest change. So the Twins
Red Sox. Okay.
is now the St. Paul Saints. They were an international team last year.
Okay.
They had the best attendance. They're only 10 miles away from the Twins Stadium.
Wow.
Short little ride. They apparently had the best attendance in the International League.
Well, that's probably why they're that close to the stadium.
So now they're going to be part of the team. So even, this was the thing they wanted. They wanted AAA to be closer. Because, like, for example, when Mets years ago was in Vegas, when they finally got Syracuse.
It's a lot.
Unfortunately, I think Nationals ended up, in Texas, which is still travel, not as worse as Vegas was, but now they're all closer. So Saints real close. The
I got here Washington's Rochester. So was that New York?
Rochester, yes.
Okay.
So like Jacksonville was a AA team. Now they're AAA for the Miami Marlins.
And of course they're a AA team because they're called the Jumbo Shrimp.
Yes.
You don't get those names in AAA.
That team I would love a hat for Jumbo Shrimps. Like, especially when like Lehigh Valley does the bacon jerseys,
cool.
It's like this is what minor league baseball is all about. And then but yeah, the Storm Chasers was in Pacific League, so now they're in East. But yeah, the International League for East now, and then also the Sugarland Skeeters.
I know Sugarland Skeeters
was an indie team as well as now AAA as well.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty big because I remember a couple years ago it was a big deal when Roger Clemens was pitching for them, and he was bringing it, man, in his 50s. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. I'm glad. We'll have to keep an eye. Unfortunately, we have a month to kill. So, but more and more teams realize how many people can come to games. Here in Virginia, there's a 30% cap for outside events, but capped at 1,000. But they said come April that could change, but now we have till May. So I think there should be no reason for a 30% occupancy at stadiums, even more by then.
Yeah, especially since Texas is letting everybody in.
God, yeah. Like, come on.
100%.
100%. Which is funny, brand new stadium technically, besides the people who got to go to the World Series.
Somebody's got to pay for it.
So 100% come opening day. They have to wear masks. They're getting more details.
Well, they're because they opened it last year, right?
Yes.
And they couldn't have attendance, and there's like no.
That's why it was like the World Series, and they're like, we're gonna let people in.
We gotta let people in. Yeah. Okay.
Since the governor pulled the restriction, they're like, we're gonna do it because that's what everyone was asking: is Texas, the Rangers, and the Astros are they gonna do it? Texas has officially came out today and said it.
Okay.
Astros have been quiet so far, so we'll see what Houston does because apparently the mayors of certain towns are adjusting for Texas, even what the governor said. So we'll see what Houston does. But so unfortunately, with this minor league baseball, teams that had to move on, a lot of teams are going to like the draft league, indie leagues, and stuff like that. So most of all of them, I think we're all either AA or single to A teams, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's crazy is, like you said, the first one I want to talk about is we lost these teams from the Appalachian Collegiate Summer League.
Yeah.
And there was quite a bit. So we have Bluefield Blue Jays from West Virginia, Bristol, that's Virginia, the Pirates Association, Burlington, North Carolina, so that's Royals, Danville, Virginia Braves. And these are all from like small towns where they love this kind of stuff. So you got Elizabethan Twins from Tennessee, Greenville Reds from Tennessee, Johnson City, Tennessee is the Cardinals, Kingsport, Tennessee, the Mets, Princeton, West Virginia, the Rays, and then Pulaski, Virginia, which is the Yankees. So like, I don't know what they're going to do, but it's pretty sad to see these small towns that probably love their minor league baseball to lose their affiliation. Hopefully, they can come together with some kind of indie team. Or indie league or something. I don't know, man. It's just like I'm just trying to think of what they're going to do.
Yeah, out of the I think 40 teams who lost, 4 or 5 don't have a team or what they're going to do yet. So 35 of them are either going to be the draft league, indie league, the Pioneer League, some form of baseball league.
Well, and both of those leagues also lost teams too, though.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye, but unfortunately, yeah, this is the one thing that like a lot of like senators and stuff that small towns are going to lose money. So we have to keep an eye on it, but unfortunately, could this be good if you think about it overall for minor league baseball? So, with the standards, through the whole affiliate from AAA, AA, single A, and technically there is rookie league, but it's real short. It's kind of like a summer spring training kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like mostly people who are going to get drafted or international signings going to go there probably for a month or so, but so it starts with salary increase for these players across the board for all 4 levels, ranging from 38 to 72% increases for this season.
Right. I mean, if you start cutting minor league teams and you have less teams that are affiliated, then you could focus on raising the salaries for the current minor league teams that are going to be moving forward.
Facilities and players' working condition will also be upgraded, modernized to meet the needs of professional athletes.
Right.
If they do anything what Blue Jays did to their training facility, I don't know if y'all have seen that video. I almost going to do a breakdown video for our channel, but that is a beautiful training center.
Nah, it's pretty dope.
Like, if that's the future, what they're going to do with minor league baseball, try to do stuff like that, then I'm all for it.
Well, and I think they are, because another thing that they wanted to touch base on is one of the perks by going to these shorter minor league or less minor league teams is that they're hoping that this will help develop players the same throughout every system.
Yeah, so if we see upgrades like we said Blue Jays did with their player development in Florida, this could be a good thing. Draft most likely is going to be changing officially this year. They're going to hear from 20 to 30 rounds compared to 40. Of course, we only got, 5 last year because of COVID. So they are shrinking it, which makes sense. They're losing teams. So, but the big thing of this with the draft is the draft is going to be hosted during All-Star Weekend. I'm like, that's different. I wonder if they're going to do at the facility like the top picks.
Which would be nice. That way they can actually get some, exposure. Because I feel like it's kind of, the true baseball fans watch the draft.
Yeah, to see what kind of young guys, but
barely anybody watches it.
So MLB's having control. We only can hope for the good in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if facilities get changing, we unfortunately went to it's been a couple years, but when we went to a single A facility, I felt like we were at a backyard high school stadium.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. It's like a little mini coliseum. I don't even know how to explain it. Yeah. It was definitely.
It was years ago. There's hopefully been upgrade. I think the Nationals did upgrade. I don't know if it was that team or.
Man, that thing needs some upgrades.
It did, but.
Kind of reminds me of Summer Catch or whatever. It looks like they're playing like a high school place, but it was it's bigger built. But it was the Washington. I don't even remember what it was Potomac Mills.
Potomac
Nationals.
Whatever. Yeah.
Potomac Nationals. Yeah, that's where we went.
But yeah, so. If they pour more money into minor league baseball to upgrade everything, I have no problem with shrinking the teams.
But at the same time, I'd also love to see another smaller league for the teams that are discarded, like maybe a bigger independent league.
Yeah, maybe cool. Like there's like I said, they have a draft league, so players who might not get drafted or they might be able to play for a couple of weeks before the draft. Mm-hmm. That could be something.
Maybe a fan controlled baseball.
That'd be some interesting, or something where even some older players could go and have some fun to extend their career a little bit. Like not only Japan's an option.
Yeah.
You have our.
Although I don't know, it'd be cool if we can get more exposure to the Japan games or something like that. Because I like seeing the players playing, better, kind of like MLB.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be interesting. I don't know if any of the MLB players want to go back play like independent though. I don't know.
Yeah, it all depends on the money, deals, TV.
But it is a big deal. Like when Roger Clemens did it, and he was waxing people like 50, whatever.
Yeah,
like if Bartolo was playing it independently, that'd be cool.
Which Bartolo signed with what, Mexican League, right? Yeah. So everyone's finding something to extend their careers and have fun. So we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna go deep dive into the CBA talks. All right, and we're back. So another hot topic, which we're going to kind of hear about it until December this year when it expires, is the CBA.
Yeah, I mean, so we already know that the universal DH and the expanded postseason are dead topics, but what are some topics that we could hear about?
So you kind of heard it recently, especially when we talked 2 weeks ago with the Seattle Mariners, the service time.
Yeah.
Like, so if you think about Chris Bryant,
yeah, he lost his
that
case,
6 weeks. They held him back, even though he had a killer spring training. That day after the service time, they gave him an extra year. He got called up.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because every team does it. They're all guilty of it. It's time manipulation, basically. The organizations are trying to limit the service time so the players ultimately get a lower salary.
Yeah,
I don't like it. Yeah. I mean, if they're good, they earn the spot.
Like Acuna did it, they were thought about it, and they brought him. And then Vlad Jr. was another one that was hot, and then they waited till right before like a month or so after this. Even though he had a exhibition game, he hit that home run, and I think what was it, Vancouver or Toronto?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why this one hits me for some reason. I don't even know if this is a part of it, but it just reminds me of Trevor Story. The kid was so good in spring training, he was hitting bomb after bomb that you had to bring him up. That year. I mean, but other than that, the service time is a real issue.
Yeah.
What do you think what do you think they want to do with this?
So, with elite talent, it takes 7 years to reach free agency once you get called up.
They got to shorten that.
So you only to agree to a marketplace that has scoffed at older players. Mm-hmm. So how do players wiggle out this triple jeopardy? Overall response is for the ownership to resist granting players free agency maybe after 5 years. Grant them arbitration after 2 years, and they have to wait 3 years before they can start kind of add some leeway into their salaries, and then even raise the minimum salary.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then have a year max out once they're drafted or signed could be a possibility as well. Because, you have all the time in the world, but once they finally hit the major leagues, you have 7 years control.
Mm-hmm.
So like Mike Yaz, for example, he didn't hit major league till 30. They have his control until
his career,
pretty much his whole career.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunately, so it's like, what could they do with this?
I think
they got to shorten it.
They have to. I mean, just to make it fair, like, it doesn't make sense. If you look at all the other sports, these guys have control of their destiny. You guys are pretty much controlling them and limiting what they can do. They're going to have to come to some kind of agreement, and I believe what Alan's saying is that they're going to have to try to shorten this.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those hot topics because Garrett Cole, Francisco Lindor, which they're on the board as the players, so Mike Trout's even kind of said something about service time. Like, this is going to be one of those big topics.
Got to be.
And especially what Seattle's former CEO put fuel in the fire, talking about Jared, which could have been called up last year because they called up the other guy who signed a contract, and by golly, because he didn't want to sign a contract, he stayed in the bubble. So he was having a good spring. Unfortunately, got hurt, so he's probably not going to make the roster out of spring training. So he's probably going to have to go to AAA or the bubble for the first month. So, but these players, it's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, they might need to just think about possibly getting rid of it, and I don't know.
Like I said, like, is there possibly where, like, okay, you get drafted, you have 8 years control?
No, that's crazy.
So it gives you 3 years in the minor leagues and 5 years in the majors. It seems reasonable, but
I think
then you got to think, if they do that, I don't think high school players get drafted. Then if they do something like that,
right?
Because you think high school players take a couple more years to to develop compared to college players who played 3 years or so in college.
Well, which is why you should probably come to some kind of, it doesn't matter about service time, just make a contract that you both agree on.
Yeah.
Say, hey, you're going to be in this organization for a couple years,
Yeah.
and this is how much we're going to pay you for those years. After that, we'll reassess and reevaluate. Rather than, we're going to control your destiny, we're going to pay you slowly. But I don't know, man. I just feel like there's got to be somewhere for both teams.
Yeah,
both
and
sides
then
can win.
what is it? The arbitration after 2 years instead of 3.
Mm-hmm.
For like example, our two Met players, Pete Alonso and McNeil, this is only year 3 for them technically, so they can't negotiate yet. So they didn't reach agreement, so their contracts just got renewed,
which is good for the Mets, but
eventually,
the players need to win some too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a big one, and then next one, the luxury tax.
Yeah. I mean, so currently the luxury tax, MLB teams are getting penalized depending on how far over the tax they are. It's very similar to, I believe, the NBA's got something like that.
Similar. So so the luxury tax is the threshold spending above the teams that will be penalized appears to be kind of functioning as a salary cap.
Yeah, exactly.
So in 2008, the luxury tax threshold was $155 million, and the year the industry was only making about $5.5 billion a year. Now the industry, of course, before COVID, was topping about $10 billion annually. So they almost doubled their income. But in those 11 years, the revenue rose 82%, but the luxury tax only rose 33%. Players are kicking themselves in agreement of the low ceiling, so increase to just $210 million this year is a luxury tax. So also question the owner's behavior.
Okay.
So if you look to how much money MLB is bringing in, I don't think the luxury tax should be treated as a cap, said Verlander. But if somebody gets together and say, hey, we're not going to go over this, then it becomes the one.
Exactly.
As you've seen, I think there's only, one or two teams this year are over. I think Dodgers won.
Not surprised.
Actually, I don't think no one else. I think Dodgers is the only one this year.
Okay.
When I did research, when they were talking about this, last year was defending champions Nationals were just over, and Red Sox were right at the line before the trades, I think, with Mookie and stuff.
Okay.
Other than that, no one else is over. And I think if you're only over 2 years, that's when you finally get the penalty.
Okay, well, so that's not terrible.
So, but should it be more? If you're not, or you're going to have a salary cap, like that's one thing they got to agree on. I think players are not happy because older players are not getting paid, which that's the next subject we're going to kind of talk about, is free agency and minimum pay.
Yeah, man. So let's go ahead into it then. So the free agency and minimum pay. Right now, I believe the league minimum is like 555.
I think it's 600.
600,000.
I think it's just at 600.
It's in that range. Yeah. So that's the league minimum.
Yeah.
Which, I guess, if you're a rookie or something, that's not terrible. But I don't know. What do you think they're going to do with this one?
For decades, MLB and the players enjoyed the salary structure that was both merit-based, cost-friendly players with less than 3 years service time, like we talked about, had the salaries controlled by the club.
Right.
Then arbitration hits, and then, of course, once you hit that more than free agency, the gold, the money pot, as people describe it. But, analytics has changed the game.
Yep.
Reference to the younger player, gorges the player's pile. Now, likelihood of clubs, algorithm determines how much money you get free agency compared to what you put on the field. So, meanwhile, generation players like Mike Trout, a 3-time MVP, who's, just about to be 30, I think, achieves the historic rates, getting paid his younger years as a utility player that was getting paid a couple years ago. Mixing young, cheap labor, not so cheap. That's one people think agree is like, if you raise the minimum wage, more money to make the younger labor not as cheap, then you might want to play the veteran players almost the same.
Yep.
I think Sean Doolittle, make them young, cheap labor, not as cheap as players aren't, from signing a veteran player in favor for a guy making league minimum. You could raise the floor so you can speak, but also protect jobs from the back end.
Okay.
So, if you see veterans guys' phones stop ringing, they might have 2, 3 to 4 years left of baseball, but the guys used to be okay getting underpaid to have salaries somewhat suppressed in the first 6 years of the career because they make up for it in free agency, but free agency is not what we've been seeing recently.
Exactly. And minimum pay obviously isn't what they think their standard is, because that's why they're taking jobs in Japan and KBO, because the pay's good and they still got a place to play.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's a tough one.
It is a tough, but I think that's why you're seeing like Tatis and them signing earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you look at the breakout, they're pretty much getting what they would have got this year anyways. Like Tatis is getting $1 million. We talked about last week.
Yeah.
Should he be getting more this year? Yeah. Like, look what he did. If he has a breakout MVP year, he cost me $1 million.
But that's also another reason why some of these guys might be locking up these huge, long contracts, because they're scared of what would happen if they hit free agency after 4 years, and they're trying to bet on them. Well, they're not betting on themselves, but they're hoping that they're going to at least get paid for the next 10 years. And they don't want to be hitting free agency, have a bad year, then be offered the minimum, and then have to find a new job somewhere else. So they like the stability. So either they find a different way to do the minimum wage, or we're just going to be stuck with the way it is right now. It's a tough one. This is a tough one. I'm not sure how they would handle this.
Yeah.
I don't know what's right or what's wrong in this situation, because I understand it from both sides. But, maybe they do restructure it and make the minimum pay at least $1 million or something. I don't know, because like you said, these guys that are veterans that are used to getting paid pretty decently are not going to take a hit of $555,000 to play a season.
Yeah, if you remember a couple years ago, people,
unless they're Tom Brady.
Yeah, yeah. If you talk about a couple years ago when baseball, like people were like, "Man, you should have taught your kids how to play baseball. Look at these salaries."
They were crazy.
You don't see it. You kind of see it for the certain players now, but like, unfortunately, Chris Davis, for example,
oh gosh,
that ugly contract.
But that's why they sign these long contracts, because the guys know what's going to happen if they don't perform, and they don't have this contract. But then again, like I said, that's why we're going to see more bigger money, smaller year deals, because they don't want to end up like that.
Yeah.
But like you said, talking about your kids playing baseball because they make good money. Well, I'm thinking they need to start playing soccer, because soccer players get paid ridiculous.
Yes.
Lionel Messi, I think, just had this huge contract, right?
Oh,
somebody did.
So soccer is based on they get the bigger players get percentage of viewership. So Messi and they'll make over $100 million a year.
Nuts.
Playing soccer, and we joke about soccer here
because
in America.
Because in America, it's not really a sport that we watch.
It's growing finally.
But, we're more football, baseball, basketball.
Yeah. But guaranteed money, yes, baseball's still the one that's fully guaranteed. Now you're seeing money like, Dak signed with the NFL. He's getting $120 million guaranteed.
Well,
but they're shorter years.
What I'm seeing is a bunch of people getting paid in the NBA, and I don't even know who these guys are. It's like, I've never heard of this guy in my life, and he's getting a huge contract
because the league is growing, and they get to spend the money. The players,
and they also have less players on the team too. They might carry 14 guys or something less than that,
something
maybe?
like that. Yeah, but and then also they kind of get their own minor league teams together,
G League or whatever they call these days.
Yep, the G League.
Okay, I don't know if they changed it. It was the D League at one time.
Then there's rumors swirling with The Rock and XFL partnering up with the
CFL.
CFL.
I saw that tweet earlier
to kind of maybe make a minor league
football. They did tweet earlier that the XFL is in progression in real talks with the CFL to see if they can make something happen, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, it's smart.
I liked the XFL last year. It was really good. It was way better than AAF or whatever that was, AFL.
We understand, they're taking a year off because they just bought the team. They got to get everything back together, the league. But if anyone, Rock and his ex-wife, his partner, are going to figure it out and do great, And the first thing we're hearing is possibly merging with another league to make it Canada and us.
Yeah, man.
Kind of maybe a minor league teams. Why not?
Although I am interested in this fan-run league. I mean, that sounds interesting for sure, though.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet.
It's kind of arena-ish.
But when you control Johnny Manziel or something.
Yeah,
okay.
Manziel, Josh Gordon. So, but
all right, well, let's get to the next topic.
But competitive integrity.
Competitive integrity.
So O'Day, did not mince words when coming about rebuilding and producing 10 teams that had lost, I think this was 2 years ago, 89 games.
Okay.
Tanking, he said. The T word is very clear what's going on. Teams have set the precedent that is the way to turn a franchise around is tanking, which you see in the NBA and everywhere. NFL, certain part.
That's just bad practice. That's going to shoo away fans.
Yeah.
Fans want to see you guys compete. You're getting paid to play a game, and we want to see you play the game.
Yeah.
And if you're tanking on purpose, that's going to hurt the players who are involved in it.
Yeah. He said, but when you have 2/3 of teams in the league tanking at the same time, it kind of makes it hard to watch.
It really does. I wouldn't want to watch that. Would you?
No.
Would you? Nobody would want to watch that.
I'm sorry for the Pittsburgh fans. They're fully rebuilding. That's going to be an ugly year this year. Like, when you have 0% chance of making the playoffs, it's like, damn.
Exactly. It's like a whole year wasted because you believe that your team's not going anywhere. It kind of reminds me of Major League, the movie. Like,
we're going to lose so we can move this team.
Exactly. That's nuts, man.
But, it certainly makes it hard to find jobs when clubs don't want to win, losing 100 games this year or pay. Miami Marlins, they lost 98 million games the previous season in 2019. It could have 16 players with less than 2 years service time. It's a big thing. Naturally you can't force teams to spend money, but could they? Could they make a minimum salary that you have to pay these players at least minimum? Like, remember, I think, what was it? Certain players are making more than the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to pay their team this year.
I know. That's nuts.
I understand a bunch of young guys, like Todd Frazier signed with them. So you're veteran, but think what, veteran minimum, $1 million probably is he getting paid? I don't know what the deal was.
Yeah, I mean, he's been kind of on the downward slope the last couple of years.
So
but Todd Frazier, I like him though.
So Todd Frazier suggested 2 years ago, if you place 10 playoff teams at the back of the draft door, the remaining 20 teams will be in a lottery like the NBA does. Instead of like, oh, you're the worst team, you get the first pick.
Yeah, what's funny is it's really funny you say that because I remember when we used to talk about the lottery, it's like, this is stupid. The worst team should get the first pick. But now that you're bringing it up in this sense, I'm like, yeah, that does make sense. If you put a lottery out there, then it forces these teams to still play and compete. I like that.
This era where, players may have to only win the court and the public option, baseball teams are business. But they're also public trust and sort that's table college community vibes. When your hometown's winning, it's nice. Mm-hmm. But when losing, like, it sucks. Like, for example, I think Orioles are trying to have 50% of their stadium to start the season. I'm like, well, that should be no issues. Besides when Yankees come in town, because no one goes to those games right now.
Exactly. Like I said, who do they got going for them right now? Trey Mancini and
a bunch of younger guys. They have possible
but like you said, are they going to be competitive? Are they going to draw a crowd besides the Yankees? I don't know.
Yeah, it was either Yankees or Red Sox is when you saw that stadium full.
And it's tough because they're in a great division, and it's hard to compete. That's all. It really is.
So Jake Arrieta said most owners are billionaires, and from other multiple businesses. It seems like you're getting into a business of running a franchise. Your ultimate goal should be to win, and I know for sure that the Buck and the Phillies owners are trying to do that. But then there's some owners who are not.
And that's like you said, they have multiple businesses and they just treat this as one of their stepchilds. They're not just like, hey, this is my main focus to make this team great. They're like, oh, this is a business I have. It makes money, but I'm also focused on this business that makes more money. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, of course, no one thinks that every owner should be a George Steinbrenner and buy every player possible.
I wish they were, though.
I think they should be more active where it had been more bidding, not where like, okay, players down to 2 teams. Like, who's going to sign? Like, why is it more teams involved to get this guy?
I like the active owners like Mark Cubans and stuff like that. Steve Cohen's. I like those guys.
And it's getting interesting. Like, what owners, like, when you think in certain, like Steve Cohen, like this big, we said about when we talked about Steve Cohen, he's almost like 3 times value more than any baseball owner. The closest one is the Nationals. I think at $4 billion. Steve's over here $14 billion. Like, that's a little more flexing. So
it really is.
But But if you're making a bunch of money, well, they are billionaires. Billionaires with a B can spend it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what they do with that.
Okay.
So what is your biggest point if you were a current player that you would stick with that you'd want your player union to fight for?
It's tough. I guess it depends on where you're at in your career.
Yeah.
Like if I'm like a Verlander or something like that, then the league minimum maybe, like you said, but maybe not. That's not a good example. A player who's not like a Christian Walker, somebody who's getting older, doesn't have a lot of time up there, and the service time is probably going to hurt him because whoever he's with is going to control it. Versus trying to, I don't know. It's just I think something around the service time would be a big issue if I was a younger guy, or if I was a guy who just got up to the big leagues and I'm kind of older. I would want to make a bet on myself so I can get a better contract next year.
Yeah. I think the service time is the biggest point. I think what all the players are saying right now, you hear it in spring training, the first couple of interviews. That's going to be the hot topic, especially with Chris Bryant losing it last year where he should have been a free agent this past season. Now he's got to wait all season, which could benefit. He had a down year last year. So if he turns around this year, that probably worked out in his favor maybe. But we don't know some of these other guys. Like, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, everybody has something that they care about, but I think overall right now that is one of the biggest things that's broken.
Yeah.
Other than the topics that are dead that I would love them to discuss, like the DH or the maybe
I
not
think
the playoffs,
DH is
but
ultimate,
the DH to me is a pretty big
the
one.
playoffs, I'm okay with the first rumblings with you hear where the number one seed gets a bye, and you let the other 6 teams, play it out. If they do that, I'm fine with that expanding the playoffs. So that would add 2 more teams. I'm okay with that. If that hopefully gets teams to maybe spend more because there's an opportunity to make the playoffs now.
Okay.
That could be possible. Like NBA is this year having a play-in tournament for instead of just eight top teams. I think it's always down to 10, and whoever the top 8 at the end get to play in the playoffs.
Okay.
There's stuff they're just trying to get more active on the younger crowd. If your team's in it, you're real close, you're gonna be more excited to watch games and bring more money in. So I think that's only that. So I guess the next big question.
Yeah, I mean, so if those are, there's a lot of issues that are going on, do you think that we could see a strike?
If there's a strike, it's going to ruin baseball.
I agree.
The setback back in '94 from that strike, terrible affected baseball until 1998 for the home run race. Brought baseball back.
And then we all hate on those people because of steroid era and things
like that.
But
ultimately, they saved baseball.
They did. Absolutely. I agree. Just like MJ is the face of basketball, baseball, was the race, man. We had like Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa.
If you think about
Griffey Jr. was even in there at that time.
Before the strike in '94, baseball was the sport. You didn't think about football, basketball, those are sports, but baseball was the sport.
Yeah, it hurt.
It took a season out for you to go watch other sports, like, oh, this is not bad.
Yeah.
And now it's growing. Like, if you miss the phone, hockey can pass baseball.
And I like
especially
hockey.
with this new ESPN deal that they just got starting for next season where they have the Stanley Cup. Like, they're going to pass you.
Look, if you guys haven't watched hockey, you should watch it. It is very, very competitive.
Yeah.
It's you're sleeping on it. You guys are sleeping on hockey. So, there's always a chance that you can get a strike. Always a chance. But I don't believe it'll happen.
I think they'll hash out in the end.
I think they will.
I think players will give the expanded playoffs if you give us service time. Well, there's going to be some give and taking. It's interesting who's going to give and who's going to take more.
Well, one of the big reasons why I'm kind of hesitant to say there will be a strike is because this past season when coronavirus hit, the owners put their foot down and it's like, we're not budging.
Yeah.
You guys want to restructure your pay? It's not happening. We're going to pay. They held to their stuff. So I feel like if there is a strike, it's going to be detrimental.
And then players did the same thing this year. They're like, no, we're doing a full season. We're not going to sign to this month delay shit.
It's going to hurt the game if they strike.
Yeah. So luckily it's not going to be in the middle of the year. There's going to be no strike. It's going to be off season. So hopefully come December, winter meetings.
So what you're saying is if they do strike, it'll be short lived because hopefully they'll get an agreement.
Like hopefully, it expires, I think is December 10th.
Okay.
So it'll be right after the winter meetings, right? Where free agency should be starting to kind of get roughly, which, free agency now is not really starts till January lately because of usually, winter meetings was when you saw the big deals finally get signed and stuff and big trades.
Yep.
Now you don't really hear it no more the last couple of years. Last year there was no winter meetings, but, could be something different. We'll have to wait and see.
All right. Well, you got anything else you want to add?
I don't think so. It's unfortunate, it's not really big injuries so far, like we said about the Astros losing a pitcher. So there's no big things this year.
One of the Mets guys has a little small
Cookie
injury, yeah, but it's nothing to be alarmed about.
Yeah,
as far as we know.
Yeah, so they're gonna hopefully keep an eye on certain, Lindor extension talks is supposedly happening this week. It's going into next week.
Yeah, so that's good news for us.
So we'll hopefully see they can come to a deal. Other than that, next week should be fun. We're gonna be breaking down the American League.
That's right.
See what players are doing good. What we think who's gonna be on top, and can Astros surprise some people like they did in the playoffs? I don't think so, but
all right. Well, next week, like Alan said, you guys, we're gonna break down American League. So see what our thoughts are. Catch you later.
All right, guys. Catch you next time.